There we go. We are live on LinkedIn. I'm here with Helen Beedham, which is terrific. Let me just quickly introduce myself and what on earth I'm doing here today on your LinkedIn feed. I'm Alison Jones. I'm the Director of Practical Inspiration Publishing, and I'm also the creator and host of the 10-Day Business Book Proposal Challenge. And that's what I'm really here to talk about today. I get lots of people asking questions about the challenge, and I just thought, you know what? I'll come on and I'll answer those questions, plus any others that you have. So if you're joining us live, yay, and please do drop any questions in comments. We should be able to answer those. But, you know, I would say it's fabulous, wouldn't I? So I brought in a buddy. I brought in Helen Beedham, who is a former winner of the challenge with her beautiful book, The Future of Time. And I'm going to hand over to her in a second. But just in case you're going, what the hell is the 10-Day Business Book Proposal Challenge? Well, that's a great first question, isn't it? So it is a 10-day, it's kind of there on the tin, isn't it? Which means 2 working weeks, so Monday to Friday for 2 weeks. It's run 3 times a year, January, April and September. So the next one starts on the 9th of September. And it's basically just a romp through a standard non-fiction stroke business book proposal. So we use the proposal template as the curriculum for the course. We start with the reader. Who is this book for? How do you know it's a problem for them? Yeah, all that kind of good stuff. And over the course of the 10 days, we just basically fill in gradually every field on the proposal. So by the end of the proposal, you have got a complete proposal, which is a great outcome anyway, but it also means more importantly, you've got some clarity over your idea and a lot more energy. And basically, it's what is going to enable you to actually write the damn thing if you're struggling with that. So it was launched in 2016. Can you believe it? So it's 8 years old now. Hundreds and hundreds of books have now gone through that process, which is really exciting. There's a maximum of 35 people on each cohort because it's a huge amount of individual feedback from me. And I guess one of the important things to be aware of as well is that each cohort, or for the proposals that I receive at the end of each challenge, I will choose a winner, funny old word, but I don't know a better one, to which I will, to the author of which I will offer the offer of an all expenses paid publishing deal with Practical Inspiration Publishing. Helen was a winner back in, when, Helen?
September 2020, end of September, yeah.
COVID time, amazing.
Yeah.
So, well, let me just hand the floor over to you, Helen. Tell from the Pacific. So I know that the challenge back to front is the person who sort of runs it, but I'd love to hear your perspective, and I'm sure people would find it really helpful to hear your perspective as a participant in the challenge.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for inviting me to share my experience. And I would start by saying, for me, the proposal challenge in terms of getting this into the world was the incredibly important first step. I honestly don't think I would be standing here holding it, and definitely not with a winner's badge on it from the Business Book Awards today, if I hadn't done that in September 2020, and I'll explain why. When I signed up for the challenge a few weeks before, I really only had the barest germ of an idea. I had something nagging in my brain that wanted to be explored. It was definitely not a book. It wasn't existing material that I could easily compile. It was just an idea that I wanted to road test. And so that's why I went into the challenge, really, to get some help thinking it through, to try and push that thinking forward, and to actually, from a very basic point of view, find out what a book proposal needed to look like, because I'd never come across one before. So I got all of that and much, much more. In terms of practicalities, I wasn't doing a lot of client work at the time, so I could sit down and work on the task each day. I know others were in a different position, and I think it's absolutely fun. I think people, you know, if they couldn't complete a task on one day or even start it on one day, they just stacked a couple of tasks up and did them the next day or at the weekend. So you have got time to catch up. You can flex it around your existing commitments at work and home. The amount of time I spent on it each day really varied. So each day Alison sets us a task. Sometimes that might take me half an hour or so, feel quite light effort. maybe it's looking up some competitor books. Others, total brain scratching work, and took me quite a few hours, I would say. There's only a few that were like that. And I would caveat with saying, you know, for me, this was very much all new intellectual capital I was developing. It wasn't building on courses or podcast conversations or blogs I'd already pre-prepared. This was all new stuff that I was trying to figure out. So I would say that the things I found immensely helpful about this was Alison's feedback to each of us personally on the work we submitted each day. That was so valuable, just getting a real life publisher say, love this, don't love this, work on that. Immensely helpful, and always delivered very honestly, but with a lot of empathy as well. So even if it was a don't love it, I didn't feel like I had to pick myself off the floor. I usually was delivered in a way that made me smile and go, yeah, I know I can do this a different way. So thank you, I really appreciated that. And other things, I really appreciated the peer feedback. So you're invited to kind of join the group on Facebook, connect with your fellow participants, and share kind of how you found each day's task, even share, you know, what you've come up with. And we kind of hopefully comment on each other's and share perspectives. And that element was really useful as well. You're basically road testing with a safe audience, I would guess, before you perhaps feel ready to have that conversation with people outside of that group. What else? I think I was unprepared to make I didn't expect to make so much progress in 2 weeks. I can honestly say, from my germ of my idea to what the proposal looked like at the end, I think that would, without doing the proposal challenge, that would have taken me easily 3 months, probably longer. Just the rigor, the structure, the support, the accountability was just helped me make so much progress really quickly. And also I would say it was really good practice for the discipline of sitting down and writing the book every day. It kind of got me into the groove of saying, okay, today's task, I have to work on X and the output needs to be there by whatever, 5 o'clock. So that was quite good practice for someone that had maybe written a lot in the world of work, but never sat down to write a big project per se, or a book or a PhD or whatever. A few things felt challenging for me. Stuff like, you know, you prepare the front and back cover copy as much as you can. I found it really hard to say what the key features in the book were on the back cover, because I hadn't really got to that level of thinking yet. So you just take your best stab at it. And actually I came across my first draft the other day thinking about this conversation, and I had a little giggle because there was something in there about time anchors, and obviously I ditched that at some point. So that didn't quite make it to the final version. But I would say, you know, really be prepared to put some real thinking time in to help you move your ideas forward, and then you'll really reap the benefit of that, particularly if you are developing some new tools or intellectual capital, or just a new way of articulating what it is you care about and what you try and help your clients with. Yeah, and I think I would say the other thing that I found immensely helpful was your coaching support, Alison, kind of to us as a group and individually, you know, how to cope with the fear of the blank page in front of you, how to be aware of your mindset as you're approaching a task, you know, all the mind gremlins that say, you can't write, you can't do this, it's going to look rubbish. You know, and how to, you introduced us to different tools and exercises, ways of getting our ideas and thinking out if, you know, we're feeling a bit stuck on a particular task. And I've drawn on those a lot, and in fact share them sometimes with my own clients as well. They've been incredibly helpful. So yeah, it's a brilliant experience. I made new friends. I really, you know, you can really build your network and your support group. I went on to stay in close contact with a few of those members, and we carried on supporting each other as our books kind of progressed, and are still in touch now, and have even collaborated on work stuff together. So that was something I hadn't expected at the outset, actually, to grow my professional and group of friends my professional network in that way. So yeah, brilliant. Now I would probably pause there and see if any questions have come in, or if there was anything else you wanted to ask me about my experience.
If you've got any questions coming in, if you are watching us live, then obviously do put your questions here and get either Helen or myself to answer if whoever's most appropriate. But I wanted to pick up on it's so interesting for me to hear it from that sort of perspective as well, because that's obviously you try and design an experience, but the experience that someone has is slightly outside your control. So that is really good. And what you said about the pace of it, I think that's a really key point, is because you've only got a day for each task. So you kind of just, and the mantra of the challenge is done is better than perfect, and there is something really energizing and galvanizing, and you can't overthink, you haven't got time. So you just get it down. And of course, that's, I mean, half the secret of writing is getting the first shitty draft, as sort of people famously call it. It also applies to the proposal. Once you've got something down, then you've got something to work with. But if you're forever trying to perfect it as you go, then you'll probably never finish it. So I think there is something there. And that point about, I'm actually going to ask and answer one of the questions that I often get asked, which is, do you have to be on Facebook to do the challenge? So when I first started the challenge, it was by email and Facebook, and if you weren't on Facebook, you weren't in the group, and you couldn't submit your answers and so on. We now use an e-learning platform, which keeps things much tidier and much more organized, and means that you don't actually have to be on Facebook to do the challenge. And lots of people who do the challenge aren't on Facebook. I would say the majority do join the group, and certainly when I look at the ones who complete, so we have around typically a 65 to 70% completion rate, which I think is phenomenal for a really, really tough internet challenge. Think about the number of things you've started on the internet and not finished. And the majority of the completions are people who've been in the Facebook group exactly for that reason that you said, that peer accountability, peer support. It's fun. It's really fun, isn't it, when you're all sort of like, complaining about me together.
No, not at all. Maybe complaining about how hard we found the task or the thinking we had to do to go into it. Yeah.
And there is something really helpful about that. And it's like you, it's one of the things that surprised me the most. I'd very much thought about the content of the course, the outcome, the process of the learning process. I just hadn't really given much thought to the peer-to-peer stuff. And it was such a delight to see that emerging. And I thought on the first challenge, I've just got so lucky with these people. This is amazing. And 8 years on, I think it's more than luck. There is something about the kind of people who come on the challenge and the kind of the structure of it and the people it attracts that just means these are good people to be associating with. They're likely to be professionally and personally really helpful to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I would add that particularly if it's your first go at writing a book, when I came to the proposal challenge, I definitely didn't see myself as an author. I'd written, in different ways for my job throughout my career. But I remember having a conversation with you quite early on saying, I can't say to people I'm writing a book. I don't feel like, or I'm authoring. I don't feel like I'm a writer or an author. And you said, well, tell people you're researching for a book. And that's ease yourself into that. And I think a big part of it is, when you start off on a proposal challenge like this for the very first time, it feels like you're stepping into new territory, and it doesn't necessarily feel like part of your existing identity to be a business book author. And part of getting more comfortable with the idea of being an author or an author to be is building your community and getting to know other authors and publishers and, and understanding how the whole book process works. So I think the community that you create around the challenge is helpful from that point of view. You're in it with other people, who are also finding ways of, their identity shifting as well to becoming authors too. And so you're kind of finding your way through this new shaping of who you are professionally and personally together.
Yeah, that's a really nice way of putting it. I'm going to nick that. Thank you. Right, I'm going to go on to the other questions that I had through. So apart from that Facebook one, which we've looked at, and actually, Helen, you have already addressed quite a lot of these, but how long does it take to complete each day? It's a bit of a piece of string question because some people have more time than others. I think I usually say if you can give it about an hour a day on average, you'll be grand. Yeah, I mean, I think there are people who would disagree with that, but that's the sort of order of it's designed to be done around the day job, and you do get the weekends off. And if you want to be in with the chance of winning the deal, then it's the end of the Monday following the challenge. So you get to 2 full weekends. And as you say, a lot of people batch process. So they have a busy day, they do both ones, and that's all fine. I would say also that you retain access to the course materials indefinitely. So even if you miss that deadline, you can still, do it at your own pace in the future. But there are. It's interesting that you said about the competing titles being one that you could fairly quickly knock on the head, because actually I think that's one of the longest days, because you've got to not just identify them, but then sort of research them.
Well, I was going to caveat that with saying, I think the kind of looking them up, on online was the quick bit. I was going to say, actually, if you know now that you want to do the proposal challenge in September, or maybe it's the following one after that, start reading your competitor titles now, because you will find that section so much easier to do if you've already got a sense of what your competitor books are about. Plus, it will really help you with your own thinking as well, to figure out how is my book going to be different and distinctive to those.
Yeah, and I think that this is day 6 of the challenge, competing titles, and I think an awful lot of people go into it with a lot of fear. It's sort of, I don't even want to look at what else is out there, because why would I even bother? But once you've got over yourself, and you actually, you're joining a conversation. These are the books that are out there in the space. You need to be aware of them, and you need to know how you are complementing what's there and building on what's there and taking it forward. And a lot of people find this actually one of the most useful days of the challenge, because it forces you to sort of take your head out of the sand and look around and realize actually where your unique combination of expertise and experience and things fit in.
Yes, definitely.
Good. So hopefully that's answered the how long does it take each day, as long as you've got, really. Do you have to commit to certain times? No. As I say, everybody's got the day job, so I mean, it'd be like herding cats trying to get a Teams call with 35 people every day. Can you imagine? No. And we've also got people from all around the world. We've had people in Australia doing so. The time zone thing would just make it way too hard. So no, the course material sort of drips. That's the technical term. It comes out at sort of midnight each day, or a minute past midnight each morning, and then you've just got however long you need to do it. It always makes me laugh when we've got West Coast America sort of leaping in the evening of the day, because it's released for them and they've got it, and blows my mind. Anyway, so no, you don't have to commit to certain times. It very much works around your ability to do it. And I guess actually the next question: what if I'm away some days? Same. Really, it's very rare you're going to have a 2-week stretch that absolutely marries up with the proposal challenge when you haven't got much to do. I mean, I'm sure it does happen, but it doesn't happen very often. So it really is designed to flex around what you've got. Often people have done it on holiday and said that they love doing it on holiday, because it was sort of, they'd just sort of take an hour out and they were in a different space, and they were in a more creative head-split space. So yeah, that can actually work quite well. What are you looking for in a winner? Oh, sorry, go on, Helen. Were you going to jump in?
No, well, I was just going to say that absolutely, you might not be able to completely free up 2 weeks to do the proposal challenge, but I think the more you can move anything that can be moved out of the diary for that 2 weeks and give yourself a bit of extra bandwidth, you might really appreciate that, actually, instead of feeling... I think because when I've known of people who've dropped out, it's because they did have too much on the boil one way or another, and they felt like it was a really hard decision to then have to pull out. It wasn't something they really wanted to do. So whatever you can do to free up space in your diary for that 2 weeks, try and do it. Yeah, just put yourself under less pressure on all fronts.
Yeah, be kind to yourself if you possibly can. But it is designed to be kind to you if you can't. So.
Yes.
Alison, what are you looking for in a winner? Which is such a great question. So, well, the future of time's already gone and done that, but you can see it's a really intriguing concept, how reworking time can help you boost productivity, diversity and well-being. So this taps into really live issues for business leaders. It's a really great concept. Helen has terrific credibility as the author. These are the things that I'm looking for. It's a concept that makes you sit up and go, oh, that's interesting. And it's aligned with business book publishing, because that's what we do at Practical Inspiration Publishing, business and self-development. And some self-development titles have one, actually, although I think the ones I'm about to show you are mostly business. So here's just a few of the relatively recent ones. Alison Coward's Workshop Culture, Janie Van Hool's The Listening Shift, which is also a Business Book Awards winner, thinking about it. Ollie Henderson's Work Life. Flywheel, which is a Business Book Awards shortlisted author. We've no idea about the outcome of that yet. Hannah Isted's Best 90 Days Ever, which is how 10-minute marketing can transform your business one day at a time. Super, super practical book. Todd Unger, 10-Second Customer Journey, the Chief Experience Officer's Playbook. And Sarah Dalrymple's More Sales Please, very much more aimed at entrepreneurs rather than big business. And you see there's quite a range. Promote your small business online, make consistent sales, grow without the grind. So that's quite a range there. And as I say, some of them are designed for corporates. Some of them are much more focused on entrepreneurs. It really is about the quality of the concept. The marketing plan matters a lot, and the credibility and the ability of the author to really sort of deliver on that and produce something that is just distinctive in the market and that we think we can do well with commercially at Practical Inspiration Publishing. So I'm not sure how helpful that is, but there you are. That's what we're looking for. Related to that, is it suitable for non-business books? It's definitely suitable for self-development and self-help and business books. I mean, a non-fiction book proposal is quite stretchy, but if you're throwing children's books or cookery or travel at me, then no, it absolutely is not suitable for those genres. So yeah, or even his sort of like narrative non-fiction, like autobiography or biography, less so. So yeah, I mean, the genres are a bit porous, but hopefully that's a bit of a non-answer, isn't it? Sorry. That's it. Those are all the questions I had, because the Facebook one we did earlier. Helen, anything to add on any of those?
Yeah, I've got a question for you actually. When you're making the decision in terms of reviewing people's submitted proposals, are you looking at people's writing, the quality of people's writing and their writing skills? I mean, so if I'm thinking about joining, but I'm worried that I'm not a natural writer, or I find writing quite difficult, but an idea I'm quite excited about and would love one way or another to get it out into a book. Is that one of the things you're looking at when you assess, you know, the completed proposal, is how well people actually can write now, or is that less of a big deal?
It's a great question, and it's almost kind of like a meta quality, isn't it? There's nowhere that says, you know, give me a sample of your writing so that I can assess it. Your proposal kind of is how you write for the audience. So I would definitely, if somebody had just massively overwritten and waffled, I'd be like, you know, it's a really good concept, but you can't communicate it clearly to a reader, and therefore no. So from that point of view, yes. At the extremes, if you're not respecting my time as an editor, if you're not getting to the point, if you're not articulating what it is you want to say, then if you can't do it in the proposal, you're not going to be able to do it in the book. So probably not. But I help people a lot with that. So it isn't often an issue. And if somebody can't take feedback, I guess that's another kind of red flag, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, if it's overwritten and I say this is overwritten and here's some ideas for how, and then they choose not to do any changes, then you're like, yeah, I'm not sure we're going to be, you know, it's a partnership, so that's probably not going to work. But you know, this is why God invented copy editors. There's an awful lot of what we need you for is the concept and the credibility. And in terms of the writing style, there's a lot we can do with development editors, with copy editors to polish that and make it better. So it's not a deal breaker unless it's really, really clear that writing is not something that is going to be your happy place, because writing a book is a huge amount of time and energy. And frankly, reading a book is a huge amount of time and energy. And you're asking a lot of readers in terms of their time and attention, which are their two most scarce resources. So I need some evidence that you are able to get to the point reasonably quickly, even if your grammar's off. I don't care about that, you know, but it's just about clarity of concept and articulation of concept.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Any others?
No, that was my biggie.
Brilliant. That's a great question, the one I hadn't even thought to answer before. So there we go. So if you are now going, actually, this does sound quite interesting, then have a look at proposalchallenge.com, basically. We've still got some spaces for the September course. The one after that will be in January, which isn't open for pre-registration yet, but it will be probably by the time, typically they tend to fill up. So as soon as the September cohort is full, I will open the January challenge for the wait list. I guess my last question is, Helen, is it worth it?
Oh, Absolutely, in a heartbeat. Scratch that itch, because you will never know what amazing book is lurking inside of you. And you might just need exactly this shape of help to get it out there in the world. And if you think, well, yes, but I could never really do that, you can just take the very first step, sign up to the proposal challenge and see how it goes. But absolutely, it's worth it. One of the best things I've ever done in my life.
That's so lovely to hear. And it's been such a joy hearing it from your perspective as well. Congratulations on the book, on the win, on everything you're doing with it. It's really exciting to see.
Thank you. Thank you. And for all your help with it.
Right, that's us finished. If you have any, I mean, everybody's been terribly quiet. But if you have any questions, having watched it on the replay and gone, oh, damn it, I missed a chat, then stick them in the comments below, tag me, and I'll very happily come back to you. Otherwise, just go to proposalchallenge.com and get yourself in there, and let's make your book happen. All right, take care. Bye.